Have you ever stood under the relentless fury of a thunderstorm and felt something unexplainable? That moment when the sky darkens so swiftly, the winds howl with a ferocity that seems almost alive, and the world around you transforms into a scene from a nightmare? I remember one particular night, a storm much like tonight, when the elements seemed to conspire against me. The rain was pouring down in sheets, each drop hitting the ground with a force that echoed through the empty streets. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the deserted landscape in stark, fleeting flashes of white. I had always found solace in thunderstorms, the raw power, the cleansing rain, the dramatic skies. But that night, something was different. The air felt charged, as if the storm was not just a natural phenomenon, but a living entity with intentions of its own. As I walked home through the deserted neighborhood, the usual sounds of the storm seemed amplified. Every creak of a tree branch, every distant rumble of thunder felt like whispers of something lurking just beyond my sight. My heart pounded in my chest, not just from the exertion of walking, but from a growing sense of unease that I couldn't shake. I quickened my pace, the urge to reach the safety of my home overriding any logical thought. But as I turned the corner onto Maple Street, the power suddenly went out. The world was plunged into darkness, save for the intermittent flashes of lightning that now illuminated my path in stark, ghostly light. With only my flashlight to guide me, I moved cautiously, each step echoing loudly in the silent night. The beam flickered, casting long, twisted shadows that danced menacingly on the walls of the abandoned houses lining the street. It was then that I saw it, a figure standing at the end of the road, completely still, seemingly watching me. At first I thought it was just my imagination, a trick of the light caused by the storm's erratic flashes. But as I approached, the figure remained motionless, its presence sending chills down my spine. There was something undeniably unsettling about the way it stood there, drenched in the storm, yet untouched by the chaos around it. I called out, my voice barely audible over the roar of the storm. "Hello? Is someone there?" But there was no response, only the relentless pounding of rain and the occasional crack of thunder. The figure didn't move, didn't speak. It was as if it was waiting for something or someone, but what? Frozen with fear, I stood there, torn between the urge to flee and the inexplicable pull to stay and uncover the mystery of this silent sentinel. The storm raged on, each moment stretching into an eternity as I grappled with the fear that whatever or whoever it was beyond my understanding. That night changed everything for me. It was the first of 4 harrowing experiences that would make me question the very nature of storms and the secrets they conceal. I've always been fascinated by abandoned places, drawn to their silent stories and forgotten histories. Willow Manor, once a grand estate, now stands as a hollow shell, left to the mercy of time and the elements. But on one fateful stormy night, this manor revealed its dark secrets. I decided to explore the manor during a particularly fierce thunderstorm. The locals warned me about the place, about the strange lights and sounds that emanated from within during storms, but curiosity got the better of me. As I approached, the storm seemed to intensify, the wind whipping through the trees, sending leaves and debris swirling around me. The manor loomed ahead, its windows like dark, unblinking eyes watching my every move. I pushed open the heavy oak door, the hinges groaning in protest. The interior was engulfed in darkness, save for the occasional flash of lightning that briefly illuminated the grand foyer. The air inside was thick with the scent of damp and decay. Every step I took echoed through the empty halls, the sound amplified by the storm outside. My flashlight flickered, casting long, dancing shadows that seemed to move on their own. As I ventured deeper into the manor, I began to notice peculiar things, strange symbols etched into the wooden floors, old portraits with eyes that seemed to follow my every move, and doors that slammed shut on their own. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was not alone. Every time the lightning struck, illuminating the room, I caught glimpses of movement in the corners of my eyes. Ghostly apparitions appeared and vanished in the blink of an eye, leaving me to wonder if my mind was playing tricks on me. Then, in the heart of the manor, I found the grand ballroom. It was as if time had stood still, the chandelier still hung from the ceiling, the stage set for a performance that never took place. As I stepped onto the dance floor, the storm outside seemed to reach its peak, the wind howling through the broken windows like the cries of the past. I felt a chill run down my spine as the temperature seemed to drop. The music from an old gramophone began to play on its own, a haunting melody that filled the room. Figures materialized on the dance floor, their transparent forms swaying to the silent tune. They turned to face me, their eyes hollow and void of life, before dissolving into the mist. Just as I thought I couldn't handle any more, the manor seemed to come alive. The walls began to shake, windows shattered as lightning struck them one by one. The ghostly dancers transformed into malevolent entities, their faces contorted in anguish and anger. One figure stood at the center of the ballroom, its presence more formidable than the rest. It reached out towards me, its hand passing through my chest like a chill wind. I felt an overwhelming sense of dread, a force that pushed me back, urging me to flee. But my curiosity anchored me to the spot. I watched as the apparition began to move towards me, the air around us growing colder, the storm's fury now matching the intensity of the entity before me. In that moment, I knew I had to escape. I turned and ran as fast as I could, the storm swallowing me up as I barely escaped the manor. The sound of my own footsteps and the relentless pounding of rain were the only things I could focus on as I made my way home. To this day, I can't explain what I saw at Willow Manor. Was it a residual energy, trapped souls reliving their last moments, or something far more sinister? One thing is certain, thunderstorms have a way of stirring things that should remain hidden. Lake Hollow was always a peaceful retreat, a place where I could escape the chaos of everyday life. Surrounded by dense forests and the gentle lapping of water against the shore, it was my sanctuary. But one stormy night, everything changed. The sky darkened rapidly, and the serene atmosphere gave way to the fury of nature. The storm rolled in with an intensity I had never experienced before, turning the calm waters into a churning, restless force. I was inside my cabin, trying to keep warm by the fireplace, when I noticed something unusual outside. The storm seemed almost alive, the lightning strikes more frequent, more aggressive. The air was thick with tension, and a sense of foreboding settled over me. As I sat there, the storm's intensity only seemed to grow. The wind howled through the trees, and the rain pounded against the windows with relentless force. But amidst the chaos, I saw something moving in the water, shadows darting beneath the surface, something just out of sight. Curiosity piqued, I grabbed my flashlight and decided to investigate. The power was still out, and the only light came from my flickering flashlight, cutting through the darkness like a knife. I made my way to the dock, each step in the mud, making my presence known in the storm's cacophony. As I approached the water, the shadows became more distinct. I could see ripples forming, as if something or someone was struggling just below the surface. My heart raced, a mix of fear and determination driving me forward. The next lightning strike illuminated the scene with blinding brightness, revealing a monstrous shape beneath the water. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, staring directly at me. I froze, unable to move as the creature began to rise, its massive form cutting through the water with ease. The creature's presence was overwhelming, a force of nature twisted by the storm. It moved with a grace that belied its size, every motion calculated and deliberate. I felt a primal fear, a sense that this was not just a wild animal, but something far more sinister. Instinctively, I reached for my flashlight, trying to shine it directly at the creature, hoping to scare it away. But the beam seemed to have no effect, as if the creature was impervious to light. It continued to advance, its eyes never leaving mine, sending chills down my spine. I stumbled back, tripping over the edge of the dock, my flashlight slipping from my hand and skidding across the wet wood. The creature halted, its eyes flickering as if it was calculating its next move. The storm raged around us, the wind and rain amplifying the tension between us. Fear surged through me, overriding any rational thought. I knew I had to escape. I turned and ran as fast as I could, the storm swallowing me up as I barely escaped the cabin. The sound of my own footsteps and the relentless pounding of rain were the only things I could focus on as I made my way home. I reached the cabin just as the storm began to lose its ferocity. Panting and soaked to the bone, I slammed the door shut, my heart pounding in my chest. I tried to calm myself, telling myself that what I saw was just a figment of my imagination, a trick of the light during the storm. But as I lay there, the image of the creature's glowing eyes haunted me. Lake Hollow never felt the same again. The peaceful retreat had become a place of darkness and fear, a reminder that sometimes storms bring forth the most unimaginable horrors. I've always been drawn to the forest, finding peace in its vastness and mystery. But one stormy night, my peaceful retreat turned into a nightmare as the forest came alive with whispers that seemed to call out to me from the darkness. I had ventured into the Whispering Woods to find solitude, to clear my mind from the chaos of my daily life. But as the storm rolled in, the forest transformed. The trees swayed violently, their branches clawing at the sky, and the once calm atmosphere became charged with an unsettling energy. As I walked deeper into the woods, the whispers began. At first, they were faint, barely audible over the storm's roar, but soon they grew louder, more insistent, as if the forest itself was speaking directly to me. The voices were soft, almost melodic, but carried an undercurrent of sorrow and desperation. I tried to shake off the feeling, telling myself it was just the wind playing tricks on me. But the whispers persisted, guiding me further into the heart of the forest. Strange symbols appeared on the trees, carved deep into the bark symbols that pulsed with an eerie light every time a flash of lightning illuminated them. My flashlight flickered, casting long shadows that danced menacingly on the forest floor. The path ahead seemed to twist and turn, leading me deeper into the unknown. I could feel a presence around me, watching, waiting, as the whispers grew louder, more frantic, urging me to follow. Compelled by the whispers, I followed the path to an area of the forest I had never explored before. The storm's intensity only seemed to amplify the voices, making them almost unbearable. The trees here were older, their gnarled branches intertwining above me, creating a canopy that seemed to trap the storm's fury within. Suddenly, I stumbled upon an ancient altar hidden away in a clearing. It was covered in moss and vines, a relic of a time long past. The whispers converged here, their voices now overlapping in a haunting chorus that echoed through the trees. As I approached the altar, the whispers turned into screams, the sound piercing through the storm like a blade. The air grew colder, and I felt a presence enveloping me. Shadows coalesced into forms, ghostly apparitions appearing around me, their eyes hollow and their expressions filled with pain. I tried to back away, but the path behind me had vanished, swallowed by the storm. I was trapped, surrounded by the spirits of the forest, their whispers now demands, pleading for me to understand their suffering, their unfulfilled desires. Desperation set in as the apparitions moved closer, their forms becoming more defined. One spirit, a woman in a flowing gown, stepped forward, her face a mask of sorrow and longing. "Why are you here?" she whispered, her voice echoing in my mind. I couldn't answer, the fear paralyzing me as the storm's relentless fury matched the intensity of the entity before me. Her eyes met mine, pleading for something I couldn't comprehend. "I didn't mean to leave you," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I don't know what you want from me." The figure paused, its expression unreadable beneath the shadows. For a moment, everything seemed to stand still, the storm outside, the chaos within the house, and the confrontation between me and the darkness. Then, in a burst of lightning, the figure's true form was revealed, something monstrous and otherworldly, eyes glowing with an ancient malice. It let out a deafening roar, shaking the very foundation of the house. I stumbled back, the force of the figure's presence pushing me towards the door. The storm's energy seemed to merge with the entity's power, creating a vortex of fear and chaos. I knew I had to act fast, or I would be consumed by the darkness forever. With adrenaline coursing through my veins, I turned and sprinted towards the stairs, the figure's presence still lingering in my mind. I could feel the storm's fury as I ran, each step taking me further away from the darkness that had threatened to consume me. I reached the top of the stairs and flung open the door, the rain washing over me as I fled into the storm. The figure watched me from the doorway, its eyes still burning with an unspoken rage, before dissipating into the darkness, swallowed by the tempest. I didn't stop running until I was safely inside my house, the storm finally beginning to calm. I collapsed to the floor, heart racing, mind reeling from the encounter. The house felt different now, the silence after the storm filled with the echoes of that night's terror. I was home alone on a stormy night, the rain hammering against the windows and the wind howling through the trees. It was one of those nights where the storm's power was unmatched, and I found myself seeking comfort in the familiar surroundings of my home. I was settling in for the night, reading a book by the window, when the storm reached its peak. The lights flickered ominously, and then, in an instant, everything went dark. The power was out, leaving me in complete darkness, save for the occasional lightning flash that briefly illuminated my surroundings. At first, I thought it was just a temporary blackout, something the storm would pass. But as the minutes stretched into hours, I began to hear strange noises, soft thumps coming from the basement, whispers that seemed to echo through the halls. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to rationalize what was happening. I grabbed my phone to call for help, but there was no signal, another casualty of the storm's wrath. I was trapped, alone in the darkness, with no way to reach anyone. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, as if the very walls were trying to communicate something. Desperate to find the source of the noises, I made my way to the basement, flashlight in hand. The stairs creaked under my weight, each step amplifying the tension. As I reached the bottom, the whispers turned into clear, guttural voices, demanding my attention. I shone my flashlight around the room, the beam catching on old furniture and forgotten artifacts. But then, out of nowhere, a malevolent presence materialized before me. It was a figure cloaked in darkness, its eyes burning with an otherworldly fire. It spoke directly to me, its voice a chilling command. "Why are you here? Why did you leave me?" I froze, the fear paralyzing me as the figure advanced. Its presence was suffocating, filling the room with an unbearable sense of dread. I tried to speak, to reason with it, but my voice was barely a whisper, drowned out by the storm's relentless fury. The figure reached out, its hand passing through me like a cold wind. I felt an overwhelming urge to flee, to escape the house and the storm that had brought this darkness into my life. But something held me back, an inexplicable connection to the figure, a sense of unfinished business that I couldn't ignore. In a desperate attempt to break free, I grabbed my flashlight, shining it directly into the figure's eyes. The beam seemed to have no effect, as if the darkness was impenetrable. The figure's voice grew louder, more demanding, as it stepped closer, its eyes never leaving mine. I realized that the only way to escape was to confront my own fears. With every ounce of courage I could muster, I stood my ground, meeting the figure's gaze. "I didn't mean to leave you," I whispered, my voice trembling. "I don't know what you want from me." The figure paused, its expression unreadable beneath the shadows. For a moment, everything seemed to stand still. The storm outside, the chaos within the house, and the confrontation between me and the darkness. Then, in a burst of lightning, the figure's true form was revealed, something monstrous and otherworldly, eyes glowing with an ancient malice. It let out a deafening roar, shaking the very foundation of the house. I stumbled back, the force of the figure's presence pushing me towards the door. The storm's energy seemed to merge with the entity's power, creating a vortex of fear and chaos. I knew I had to act fast, or I would be consumed by the darkness forever. With adrenaline coursing through my veins, I turned and sprinted towards the stairs, the figure's presence still lingering in my mind. I could feel the storm's fury as I ran, each step taking me further away from the darkness that had threatened to consume me. I reached the top of the stairs and flung open the door, the rain washing over me as I fled into the storm. The figure watched me from the doorway, its eyes still burning with an unspoken rage, before dissipating into the darkness, swallowed by the tempest. I didn't stop running until I was safely inside my house, the storm finally beginning to calm. I collapsed to the floor, heart racing, mind reeling from the encounter. The house felt different now, the silence after the storm filled with the echoes of that night's terror.